My best friend's dog passed away while I was dog sitting and now she hates me. What can I do to make it better? One of my best friends, Jennifer, has had a boxer named Sam for 14 years. I have 2 old dogs as well, bulldogs, age 11 and 12. Jessica travels a lot for work, and every time she does I babysit Sam for her. And she keeps my dogs if I travel. It's a good deal. Well, over the last 2 years Sam's health has severely declined. I kept him for a week in December and the whole time he was with me, I was afraid he was going to die. He is very old and is on medication for congestive heart failure, which he takes once a day. I counted down the days until she came back because I was terrified he was going to die at my house. That sounds so terrible, but he was in really bad health. Well, about 2 weeks ago, Jen had to leave the state for some family reasons and she asked if I would keep Sam for 10 days. TBH, I really didn't want to because since December his health has gotten so much 35 worse. I'm the world's biggest dog lover, but this poor boy really needed to be put down. Jennifer knows he needs to be put down, but she just can't do it. I 100% understand. I've had to have lots of dogs put down in their old age. I rescue elderly dogs, and it is a very tough decision to make. However, I secretly wished she would, only because he can barely walk or eat at this point. Anyway, I agreed to keep him, and all was good. My old dogs love him, and they pretty much just nap all day lol. Well, just the second night he was with me, around 2 AM, one of my dogs wakes me up by howling like crazy. It's so loud I can hear him upstairs even with my rain noises playing. He usually only howls if there is bad weather, but it was completely lovely weather. So I went downstairs to where the dogs sleep at night and my 2 dogs were whining beside Sam. I touched Sam to try to wake him up, but when I saw his eyes, I knew he was gone. I just had an elderly dog pass in her sleep a month ago, and unfortunately I will never forget the way the eyes look. I closed his eyes and lost it. I never went back to sleep. I didn't know what to do, so I sat up crying and shaking until 7ish. Once it was daylight, I texted my neighbor to come over. She is a veterinarian. I don't know why I called her, because I knew he was dead, but I was panicking and secretly praying it was a fluke. It was not. My neighbor said, based on the dog's age and health issues, that it was just old age, and I couldn't have prevented it. She asked me if I wanted her to help with anything, like what to do with his body. Obviously I can't leave a dead dog in my house for another week, but Sam is Jen's family, so I knew I had to call her and tell her to see what I should do next. And so I did. It was the hardest call I've ever had to make. At first she thought I was joking, but when I broke down crying, she knew I was serious. I told her that I was so sorry, but before I could say anything else she started screaming at me, telling me that I didn't give him his meds, I did, or that my dogs hurt him, they didn't, or that I fed him the wrong food, I didn't. She cussed me up and down, so I told her that I was sorry, but she needs to let me know what to do with Sam's body, or either come back and deal with it. She yelled, "Why don't you just throw him in the woods? It's not like you give a thing about him," and hung up on me. I called her back, but she wouldn't answer, so I ended up calling her brother. He came and got Sam's body and apologized on Jen's behalf. It's been almost 2 weeks since Sam passed. Jen is back here, but she refuses to speak to me. I even had a nice floral arrangement sent to her with a sympathy card. She sent me a picture yesterday of her ripping the card up. I texted her back that I'm sorry she is hurting, and that I know how she feels. Remember, one of my dogs passed away about a month ago, but that I don't understand why she is blaming me, and she is really hurting my feelings with her accusations. She ended up sending me back the longest text message ever about how I never liked her dog and I never treated him right, and how I'm glad he's dead. Now, I definitely encouraged her in January to have him put down when she asked for my opinion. But I'm in no way glad the poor thing is dead. I'm heartbroken too. I just want my friend back. I want her to see that it wasn't my fault. I swear to God it wasn't at all. 14 is pretty damn old for a boxer, and I treated him just as well as I treat my dogs when he is here. Is there anything I can do or say to help? Or should I just back off? I'm just so baffled. We were best friends. I've known her for 14 years and this is the first time we have ever gotten into a fight. Not even a disagreement. Should I reach out again or let her grieve and come to me? I really hate that she thinks I killed her dog or that I'm glad he is dead. I'm so not. Update. After speaking with some mutual friends after my post, I realized that none of them had even heard from Jen in over a week. So I called her brother and told him everything. After I laid it all out, everything that happened with Sam, and what Jen said and did to me, he said, "You mean she hasn't called you yet?" And I said, "No, the last contact I had with her, she was ripping up my card in a pic she texted me like an insane person." So he said, "I'm going to get her to call you. She wants to talk to you." So the next day I received a very teary, very apologetic call from Jen. She was horribly ashamed and angry at herself for how she acted. I truly know it was a genuine apology. As I said in my last post, Jen is the kindest person I know. I seriously could not believe how she acted. It turns out that there were 2 Redditors who were correct. I thought it was weird that Jen was going back home during this pandemic, and it turns out there was a bad reason she went. She lost a loved one. Not just her dog, but she lost one of her best friends to suicide. Her brother assumed Jen had called to tell me. The woman who passed was a mentor of Jen's. Her brother did not really know her, that's why he didn't go home. Anyway, she sincerely apologized, and it turns out that, while her behavior was mean and disrespectful, it makes much more sense why she flipped out like she did. She didn't just lose a dog that week, but also a best friend and mentor. I forgave her, and I hope she feels better soon. Thanks for all of your advice. Especially the Redditors who told me to be patient, not just kick her to the curb. After over a decade of friendship, I knew that was 100% out of character for Jen. Jen called and sincerely apologized. It turns out that a dear friend of hers committed suicide right before her dog passed away. We are all good, and I hope she can feel better soon. Reddit comments. Oh my god, my mom is also the nicest person in the world, but she completely disowned me for a week after her dog died. I can't even remember what the reason was. She is absolutely terrible with handling grief. It's not uncommon for someone to outwardly project their feelings on someone alive than for them to project them towards the unchangeable death. She doesn't do it on purpose, but she needs to create problems outside of her grief, so she feels like she is in control of her feelings. This actually makes sense. I experience grief often. I take in elderly dogs, so I guess I'm kind of used to pets passing. That sounds bad, but most of the dogs I get are already 10 to 17 years old, so it's inevitable. These are the first close deaths she has ever experienced, so I understand her lashing out. It's hard. I'm glad you got that sorted out, and I hope your friendship recovers. Jen has suffered 2 major losses, so I'm glad you could extend her the grace of forgiveness. I hope she is able to cope with her losses as time goes by. Me too. It's a bad time for her to not be able to hang out with friends. But our friend group is all reaching out however we can. Thank you. Please keep reaching out. During my depression episodes, I handle it by isolating myself. If she starts to do this, please don't stop texting her or calling her, thinking that she's ignoring you. Just keep texting her good stuff, like memories that you know she would laugh at. Eventually she'll text back. Don't text stuff like "why haven't you called me back?" That will put her on the spot and especially make her isolate even more. Anyway, just some tips if she gets a little hard to reach. Good luck. Hope she's doing okay. Oh, I will. I hit rock bottom 2 years ago and Jen stuck by my side, so I will happily return the gesture. People make mistakes. It's what we do because perfection doesn't exist. Grief is tough. It's important to understand that others' emotions are going crazy and they don't know how to process it all. You're a good person for forgiving. Way to be human. I've been forgiven many times in my life when I've acted mean, so I try to forgive as well, at least the first offense lol. That's what it comes down to, I think. We've all acted poorly before, and if someone reacts in a way that's clearly with grief and anger, and then genuinely apologizes, it means a lot. I'm glad you two are back in touch and talking. You seem like a very kind person. Comment and subscribe.